Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Process Live. This podcast is an offshoot of the docuseries Process, which follows creatives in a variety of industries, such as music production, puppet fabrication and creature effects, outdoor sports, apparel design, filmmaking, and everything in between. Process Live is a podcast produced by Pattern Integrity Films for Pharcyde TV. In this episode, Creating Creatures, we catch up with Raiden Gorby from our first episode of the Process docuseries. Feel free to chime in with any questions you might have in the chat. Welcome, Raiden. How are you doing?
Hey, good. I'm tired, but I'm here.
Good. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. Here we go. Pippin, sorry, I just clicked off of something, so I hope it's all right. Oh, we're like a couple of souls lost at sea without Brown running these for us. Okay, so I guess I just want to get us started with a pretty exciting announcement. You know about this, and so a couple of other people know about this, but we're really excited to say that your episode will be screening at the Portland International Airport to about 250,000 travelers a month on a loop for 3 months, which is kind of crazy. I don't even know what the math is on that and how many times that will play, but it's pretty awesome. So starting in January, that will happen. What's that? Oh, at the Hollywood Theater. Yeah. Which, we're so lucky to have a theater in our own airport. Like, how cool is that? So that's a whole lot of process, and that's a whole lot of you and your puppets and your amazing story. So we're super stoked about that for sure.
I am
So
too.
yeah. So speaking of airports, you just hopped off a plane yourself, right?
Yep. I actually was there yesterday. I swung into the Hollywood Theater there just to check it out and see what it looked like. It's pretty cool. I'm really excited for it.
Oh, that's cool. That's I actually haven't been inside yet, so I'm excited to see what it looks like and just kind of the different things that they have playing there. Because it's my understanding that they have like an hour of programming and they just select like 4 or 5 films that play over that hour and just continuously play them. So
Yeah, it's
that's
cool.
cool that we're included. Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool. It's just a mini theater. I think there were 3 or 4 rows of seating. It was packed. I don't know what was playing in there currently, but I mean, I was shocked to see how many people were in there just when I went through. So I'm sure it's going to see a lot of eyes.
Yeah, that's cool. So, fun little fact was we were actually talking with Randy Bowen about this a couple nights ago. We stopped by his house trick or treating because he always gives
Oh,
like the
cool.
huge candy bars out to the kids.
Of course.
But yeah, he was like there, that's such a great opportunity because you literally have like a captive audience. People can't go anywhere, and if they have a couple hours before their next thing, it's like you can either sit in an uncomfortable chair and stare at your phone, or you can go and enjoy yourself for an hour
Oh, yeah.
before you're on to your next thing. So it's pretty cool. I actually had never thought of it before. And like, I'm just like, wow, every airport needs to have a theater now.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And it's all free. So yeah, you don't have to pay anything to get in there. So that's
Right.
pretty
Good
cool.
point. Yeah, that's super cool. So you were in LA. Is that right? Talk to me a little bit about your trip down there.
Yeah, so my last trip down was for 3 days. It was over the Halloween break. Well, I guess it wasn't a break, but it was over Halloween. It was for Ashniko's final concert on her Weed Killer tour. Um, I had built a 11-foot tall robot for her for Coachella, and she's brought it out a few times for different venues if the stage is big enough. And this last one was at the Palladium down in Hollywood. So I think they said there was around 3,000 people that ended up packing the place, and it was
Oh,
just
wow.
an insane show. Just a Halloween show on top of it was just epic. She had a crew come in, and they did an amazing uh, kind of fairy Halloween experience walkthrough for the VIP crowd, uh, where they introduced her new song, Moss King. And it was just epic all around. It really set the mood for the entire show. Everyone was going nuts. I ended up doing 2 songs where I performed in this 11-foot tall robot suit, shaking my robo booty. And yeah, it was epic. It was really fun.
That's so crazy. I'm interested to know because you've performed in the like the actual robot is called the Weed Killer, right? That's the
Right.
name of it. That's it. So and you've performed in that at least like a handful of times so far. So Coachella was the first time, and then I think you've been down a couple of times to do those performances.
Right.
Um, Talk to me a little bit about the difference between that first performance and your most recent performance. Like, what did you learn in between all of that?
Mainly I needed to work out a lot more. I was not prepared for it. Coming out of COVID with my dad bod, going straight into the Coachella set, I about died after that set. So when I got back and I knew it was going to be an ongoing thing, I started working out and eating better. Um, this last show was so much easier, and I was able to really move that suit around. Just there was a huge difference that I noticed. So it was worth it. But that was one of the biggest changes that I noticed kind of going through the process of performing them over and over. Uh, it's uh, it's not really a suit. It's a puppet basically. It's one of the biggest puppets I've ever puppeteered before. And it's a full body excruciating workout when you're on there. When I get off, I just crumble. I kind of crawl off into the back green room and strip my stuff off. Yeah, I'm a mess afterwards, and it sucks because the other dancers, Ash Nico, everyone else, they're still composed. They still look beautiful, and I'm just this messy, sweaty monster in the corner trying to catch my breath. So yeah,
But like, talk to us about the construction a little bit because I think the from what I've seen, it's like the bulk of it, and it's like 200 pounds, right?
it's
It's
pretty
like on
heavy.
your shoulders, and then
Mhm.
you're controlling like the bulk of the movement through like a rod of some sort or something like that, right?
Right. So the whole thing is built around a really elaborate drumline harness. So it's an aluminum drumline harness, and then it has a welded aluminum structure that comes up and kind of branches out. It looks like a really elaborate like TV antenna without everything on it. But that's pretty lightweight. It's when you start adding all the EVA foam panels onto it to create its shape and its structure, and then it starts to get heavy.
Mhm.
It's also covered in a white vinyl, which adds a lot of weight to it. But
Right.
yeah, so the harness basically creates the structure for his lower torso. So when I move my frame, it's moving his lower hips basically. And then he has these jointed legs that stem out from that and then connect to my ankles and feet. So when I'm walking, he's got these giant inverted legs that walk with my leg movements. And then the
Wow.
top portion has the upper torso, which is controlled by the main rod that comes down, and it has a 90-degree handle that stems off of that, and I can control the movement of the upper torso with that. And then below that is a secondary control rod, which controls his head movement. So
Whoa.
he's got a ton of movement, but it's so massive. Kind of, even if it was way lighter, just the scale of it, it's so lumbery. And trying to move with the beats, you're really forcing the movements back. So it's just a lot of work. it's
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work to perform in something like that, but it's also just a lot. It seems like it takes a lot of like, I don't know if this is the right way to describe it, but it's almost like you have to like sort of reverse engineer how to even design something that functions like that. Because it's like, well, this is what we want, right? And then you're having to craft that, but then also coming up with the different movements is
right,
something that you've got to put together
right.
in a
So
short period of time.
yeah, it was 2.5 weeks to build it. And right off the bat, I said, I need to know what your choreography is. What do you guys have planned for this thing? And that was kind of up in the air. They didn't really know exactly what they wanted to do with it. They had some ideas. But I had to kind of immerse myself in her music. The entire time I was building, I just had her play track just constantly going so I could get the feel for it. I'm jamming out while I'm listening to them. I kind of do that with all my builds when I work for these artists. I just saturate myself in their music to help kind of guide me through how it should look and how it should move. Um, with her, I hadn't heard of her before when I got this job. Now she's one of my favorite artists. Like her music's amazing. Um, so I've enjoyed the entire process of working for on this build. But yeah, it's just a matter of immersing myself, I think, in the music to understand how it should move because the client doesn't necessarily know until they get it what they want to do with it. So I have to kind of determine that on my own and figure it out.
Right. And then just like how you mentioned a little bit in the episode too, I think originally they had a performer that they were going to use for it, but then that I think that fell through, and then they wound up like asking you to do it, but then it seems like they really like you to perform in that, which according to my memory, I think it's like something that helped you arrive to the fact where you're like, I think if I'm going to design these large scale pieces, I really need to be performing in them too. I mean, would you say that that's kind of,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
I really love building. I think before, I mean, up until probably 2 years ago, I only liked to build. I didn't really like to be the one performing in them. But as we get more involved with these complicated builds that really require a special kind of performer to be able to work them, I'm realizing that it has to be me because I'm the only one that understands how these pieces work. Um, when you get someone else in there, they can do an okay job, but they don't understand the structural integrity, of how this thing operates, what it's capable of doing, how far they can push it. Um, so the first guy they got out there, he did a fine job, but he just was not pushing it to its limits. He was kind of doing some bobbing, but it was falling flat. So
oh my God. Sorry. I just,
no,
did you see that? I
I
just
saw
had a
the floaty
huge,
go through.
I just had a huge spider just drop down from, would you mind getting this for me? Oh my God, it's right there. I don't want to nuke right now. Holy shit. You just like be nice to it, but get it the fuck out of here. God, it's like jumping.
Here, it's going the other way.
Sorry, I'm so
It's somewhere under the desk now. You're fine.
I can't fucking compose myself during moments like that. I know. I'm really not happy with the direction it's heading.
Okay, I got it.
It's like I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get over like a fear of bugs, but
Got some arachnophobia.
it's like I saw it at the top of our like lamp here. And then I was like, all right, it's cool. It's up there. And then he slowly descended. And I was like, I wonder if he's going to be on camera. And I looked at the camera and he's like, hey. So sorry about that.
It's appropriate. It's day after Halloween.
Right. Oh my God.
We are live on set.
Yep. This is a live broadcast, obviously. Oh my God. So funny. Otherwise, we would like cut to a commercial break. So, okay. So, back me up a little bit into what you were talking about with I think one of the points that you were making is like, because you've designed this puppet, you also know its limits and how to like be careful with maneuvering it, whereas someone who doesn't, they're just like, they're familiar with stage performance and maybe they've worn a variety of costumes, but this is a whole other level where you might turn something and not know where its limits are as a performer that hasn't built the thing,
Right.
and break it, or a variety of just any kind of issues that can happen. So yeah, it's definitely like you were saying, it's like it's not something that you wanted to be doing a long time ago, but now that you're here and like getting into this more, it seems like it's more or less like what you're going to be, the path you're going to be going down.
Right. I mean, I'm learning to love it more and more, especially with the SAG-AFTRA strikes still going on. We've lost all of our commercial build work. So movies and TV shows that we were building for are just non-existent anymore. So we've really kind of moved into the music scene more, doing live events and shows, music videos, that sort of thing. Um, So it's just kind of, I think I've always kind of just tried to go with the flow. Like I'm never trying to really force a path of what I want to do. It's just whatever is, kind of guiding me in that direction. I just go along with it. And that's kind of where it's led us at this point, is the music industry. So for now,
Wow.
that's kind of where I'm playing, and it's fun. I'm getting to meet a lot of really cool artists and participate in things I never really would have thought of. Like when I started all of this, before I started all of this, I was a musician, and I played bass, keyboard, and vocals in a few different bands, and we would do small local venues. The biggest thing we did was kind of a semi West Coast tour in my last band that I was in. And at the time, I was like, this is my life. This is all I want to do. And as I kind of grew up a little, I realized that this isn't going to work. Like I'm starving and I'm sick all the time because there's just no downtime. We're just playing these dive bars all the time and not getting anywhere. So after I left that behind, went into puppets, it's kind of funny that it's kind of coming back around where now I'm doing these big shows that I always dreamed about doing as kind of just a different role, but it's still kind of what I wanted to do when I was a teenager. So it's cool that it's all worked out.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love that path too. I love like how things just always come back around. When I was a kid, I have very, very like distinct memories of seeing Michael Jackson's Thriller for the first time. And like I was at my aunt's house. I remember the color of the carpeting, like the smells, just everything. And I was a little kid watching that. And it was like that moment in time where I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. Like it seems so exciting. And I remember seeing the special that they also had where, it just took so long to do all of his makeup and how he had to, it seemed kind of painful, honestly, like what he was going through to become the character, and just between that and the choreography and the sets, and just, it was over the top, so much so that piece holds its ground still today. I mean, it's that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just remember being like, this is what I want to do. But it took me, 35 years to get, to like come full circle and be like, all right, this is probably not that long. I think I finally decided to, stop trying to just do the thing that when your parents are like, okay, it's cute, this thing that you want to do, that's fun, but you should do something realistic, so, going to college and, doing something in like communications and, whatever that, leads to, and just trying to like get jobs down that path, knowing full well what I wanted to do the whole time, and finally just being able to, land a job at Leica and come out here kind of like sight unseen and work on Coraline was like, this is exactly what I want to be doing, and that moment I could tell you, at least the early days of Leica it was like summer camp, it was like, I couldn't wait to get to work. I was bummed when I had to leave, it's just like, it was no problem for me to work overtime because it was just such a creative place to be around, and you had the woman that was knitting tiny sweaters with needles, like the tiniest little sewing needles, and the people in the puppet fab department that were just, creating the maquettes, repairing them, people in set, doing the set design, building the Victorian house that was like as tall as I was, and a couple of different versions of those, and just everything that went into it was probably, like, I would say, some of the greatest years of my life for sure. And it was like that moment where I was like, okay, I'm here, I could do this. I met so many incredible people. And it just went, from that point on. So yeah, just to kind of like bring it back around and like wind up, you wind up doing what you were always meant to do. I love how that will like find you no matter what. You know, it won't leave you alone, I think is kind of the point. It's like it will find you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. I can't imagine working at Leica in the early years. That's extremely fortunate you were able to be there for that. That's
it's
amazing.
almost like, yeah, I have this really awesome coffee table book called Drunk, Stoned, Brilliant, Dead. And it's about the National Lampoon's like early years. And I would attribute it to that, just people, you know, being like just crazy creative. It was still very like Will Vinton, you know, so the corporate, you know, the corporate structure didn't come in, you know, too hard until I would say after Coraline wrapped. And those days were just, it was great. I mean, as long as you were getting your work done, you didn't really have anybody over your shoulder, you know, or just kind of hosting, you know, or having to be part of these sort of ridiculous meetings that I think now are like so overplayed in like the corporate world.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
It really sucks the fun out of the atmosphere the way they run it now, but I get it. It's about the bottom dollar, and
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but at least you were there when it was in the good years. So
yeah, for sure. For sure. So, I mean, I'd love to segue a little bit into, can you talk to us about what you're working on now besides Rest?
well, I have one big contract that's going to be taken up the next couple months. Unfortunately, I can't talk about that. So there's NDAs involved with that one. Other than that, we've got a few just kind of site order stuffs, doing people puppets, monster puppets. But most of our work's going to be wrapped up in this big NDA project. So hopefully when that's released, we can talk all about it, share all the footage and stuff that goes along with it. Because it's an exciting one. It'll be really cool. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't really say much about it. I'm hoping for music job here soon, coming off of this Ashnika one, because I think the Ashnika one is done now. This was her last show for the US tour. She's going into a UK tour now, but it's not going to be a weed killer tour. It's going to be something else. So I think the weed killer is done. I don't know what they're doing with the suit, but hopefully it doesn't just get bent. So
right. Yeah. I think that from what I've seen and from what we can all probably expect, it's like you've been growing sort of like hand over fist. Like it's been just incredible to see where you came from and what you're doing now. So I feel like it's a guarantee that this next project is just going to blow us all like out of the water. Just, you know, it's going to be wild. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah, hopefully it all works out and it's super cool. Yeah, I never really know what to expect. I get in these sort of panic modes after I come off a big show, because I don't know. I want to keep the momentum going. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose momentum, that things are going to dry up, and I think that's just my own little insecurity showing its face. But yeah, hopefully with this new job and everything, we get something cool coming up. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah. I think Pippin was changing a battery or something. So,
okay, cool.
You know, yeah, you're getting the livest of the live broadcasts.
All right. I was afraid I was talking to no one.
So. Right.
Okay.
I know. So this is a question, actually, I don't think I really asked you this during our interview, but I've been meaning to find out a little bit more about, is just kind of what art and artists do you feel like you're most inspired by? Is it like Dark Crystal, Labyrinth type stuff? Is it something completely different? Just kind of take me down that sort of road of what it is that I guess that you like, in terms of, you know, things that you feel like you get inspired by, whether it's, you know, comics or whatever. Just sort of like take me down that path a little.
Oof, that's a big one.
Right.
Because I feel like I get inspired and I enjoy like literally everything I see. Whether it's architectural, vintage, like early atomic age stuff, art deco stuff. Like I kind of just, I love everything. So there's not really one type of thing. Even, just movies. You mentioned Dark Crystal. I remember when I was a kid seeing that and just my brain literally exploding because I didn't understand how, like, what were these things? They looked so alive. How was this possible? And I would just watch it over and over and over again, trying to understand it. So that was definitely something that influenced me super early on. I know Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy, when that came out, that was one of the first times where I was like, I want to do this. Like watching the behind the scenes creation of the character Samael, which was this kind of, I don't really even know how to explain him. He was like a hellhound sort of type creature with these tentacles, like for a mane. And when you watch it, it all looks computerized. But then you see the behind the scenes stuff, and it's a practical effect. This entire thing was created; it really existed, and you
Whoa.
could see them controlling, each tentacle, the eyes dilating and moving, and it was just. I was like, how on earth could someone create something like this? And then that's kind of what pushed me into started, playing with different materials, trying to create simple little effects that kind of were along the lines of what they created. And I decided this is what I want to do. It's like I think 50s atomic art is really big for me. Like 40s, 50s. I love everything from that era. And then going back, even the art deco stuff I really love. So a lot of my work, I think you can, like, if you really get into some of the stuff I do, you can kind of see where I pick and pull different characteristics from those eras and try and put them into what I do. Music is definitely a big influence for me. I've always been very musical. So yeah, sorry, that's just a big question. It's
Yeah, for sure.
Like my creative process gets pulled from absolutely everything around me. There's not really anything I dislike. Like all genres of music I can get into, any sort of hobby that people have. Like if someone's into it enough to be, to turn it into a hobby that they are fully just deluded by, I don't know, if then I'm intrigued and I want to know what it is that they love so much about it. And I think a lot of people will be like, oh well, that's lame, how could you, they're a geek or something. But to me it's like, oh well, why do they love it so much? I want to know. So then I do it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is fucking awesome, I love it. So it's I think the longer I live, the more of a geek I become, which I think is kind of the opposite. A lot of people start out as nerds and geeks and then they kind of grow up and become boring. And I'm just going the opposite direction. So I just every year.
Hey man, normal is so boring. So like, why bother with any of that? It's like, no way. I'm not into it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm trying to remember, there's one of our mutual friends, his name's not coming right now, but you'll probably know who I'm talking about. The kinds of, and he's not an artist himself. He's like a buyer of like these kinds of things, but he'll buy like actual like laser guns, like not just like a cute little thing that somebody designed and it looks cool, but it actually works. I think he's got like the Starship Enterprise and like just everything looks so real, on it. And I mean, he's got a DeLorean.
Yeah. Oh, he's like a radiologist or something, like something super boring, but he's
that's exactly it. But then if you go to his house and he's got like some of the coolest stuff ever. It's a lot like your place. I mean, and Randy's place. It's like you walk in and it's like a museum, looking at like all the different art pieces and stuff. It's just way cool, to be around that stuff for sure. So you're lucky. And your kids are lucky because they never have a boring Halloween costume. So there's that.
Oh, my boys went store-bought this year, which was a huge disappointment.
I don't want to touch a nerve, but I did hear that. Yeah.
It ate me up because we usually go all out and they're like, no, I'm going to be the Mandalorian. I'm going to be Sonic. And it's like, oh, come on, guys. But
Yeah.
my daughters, they stayed true. They went all out. So,
Right. At
yeah.
least it wasn't those costumes. Remember when we were kids, it would be like, it was like you could be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it was like a plastic, it was like a garbage bag with like a plastic, you know.
Mine were
Mask.
super pathetic because my parents didn't buy the cost. Like, well, I don't know if it's that they didn't buy the costumes for us. Like, I don't think I asked for them. I think I just wanted to make my super shitty costumes myself. So I would collect just like discarded toilet paper rolls in like old Shasta soda can boxes, and I would make robot suits out of them.
So
And they
cool.
looked like garbage, but I was so proud. And I would take them to school and I'd wear them, and like I would just be ridiculed. And like I was the biggest geek that no one wanted to be around because I was just this weird loser in these like super poor outfits. But it was all by my choice. It wasn't, I think my
Right.
parents would have bought me nice costumes, but yeah.
Yeah. You were like wearing them to school when it wasn't Halloween.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
It's all good. Yeah. It's I think it's great to be around the geeks and stuff. And I what's that saying? Like oh God, what is it? It's like be nice to your geeks and your nerds because you're gonna wind up working for them someday.
Pretty
You
much.
know?
Yep.
So
Yep.
so for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to instill that with our kids now and be like, you know what? You may not be the popular kids now, but you're going to be
Yeah.
something when you're out of school.
Just you wait.
So,
Yeah, just you wait. That's cool. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how you take your ideas to the next level. I know that everything kind of starts with a sketch, but just take me through those steps a little bit. Like, even to like trial and error, deciding to go down one path and realizing, okay, this isn't going to work. I have to either start over, which is like, oh my God, especially when you're working under such a tight deadline. Um, just take me
yeah.
down like a regular project timeline.
Well, it's hard because it's such a blur by the time I get out because I'm in just one anxiety attack after another. As soon as the down payment comes in, I just start freaking out. So I kind of like, I almost glaze over the process, just freaking out as my wife tries to calm me down at every level. Um, but yeah, it usually starts with a sketch, and then I'll go through and I'll draw out the mechanisms and just try and work in my mind how I'm very good visually inside my head. I can kind of look at something and overlay the image to understand how it's going to work. So I think that helps me a lot with my career and what I do. So I can kind of, usually I spend a good majority of the time just thinking about it, trying to figure it out in my head. And then once I have it all figured out, then I'll come into the shop and I'll start playing with different mechs and different materials, trying to get it to work right. Sculpting, I usually dig into right away. That's usually the most time consuming part of the build is the sculpt. Mostly just because it's going to have to run through a bunch of different approval processes from the clients. And they always want to have a say in little tweaks that really most of the time aren't necessary whatsoever, but they have to, stick their name on the build somehow. So
Right.
we go through that process. Once everything is finalized, then I can get everything cast and molded and then start working on the actual mech that goes into it. That's probably my favorite part. Just being able to, because I always loved like erector sets and tinkering when I was a kid. So
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially the same exact thing, just with grown-up tools instead of, the kid tools. So I'll start playing with that, figuring out how to make everything move. And then Andrea, my wife, is a huge help with all of it. She's the one that just, I mean, like I said, she keeps me grounded and brings me out of my anxiety attacks so I can think straight. But she's also
Right.
helping with every step of the process. So she's a huge hand in fabrication, cutting out all the materials, gluing everything together. She's our seamstress, so she sews up absolutely everything. all the fur
Wow.
materials that we use, patterning, all of that stuff. She takes care of that.
The Money Monster, right? The Money Monster she had put, it was like shredded dollar bills or something. But that
Yes.
suit was just gorgeous and heavy too.
Yeah, it was a monster of a money monster. It was just days, and that was a whole family affair. We had Luna, Juliet involved. We were all just cutting strips, just thousands of strips of dollar bills, and then hand gluing each one in place. And we just sat around our couch and coffee table watching movies as we each just hand glued pieces in for like 4 days straight. So yeah, the
Wow.
entire process has become a family affair at this point. Everyone's in on it.
Wow. So it's interesting that you're talking to me about the anxiety portion of it, because I sort of feel like I might share that with you a little bit. Like even though you've done so many projects and you've had so many successes, it's like every time you start something new, it's like, is this going to be the time that I
Oh yeah,
fuck it all up? Or
yeah, I always forget I can do stuff. It's like,
yeah,
I'll have this big sculpt. I'm like, how am I gonna do this? And then I sculpt. I'm like, oh yeah, I can sculpt. Like after I'm done with it. Or it's like the mechs. It's like, how the fuck am I gonna get this thing to move? And then I make it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like I always forget that I can do it because the anxiety just takes hold. And it's just a matter of just pushing through the anxiety to get it done. And it's like I think I start to overplan and overthink it, and I need to stop, and I just need to push. Like as long as I'm moving forward and I'm trying not to think about that, like weed helps a lot with that to kind of shut it down so I can just work. I also have really bad CPTSD, which accounts for a lot of my anxiety. I've got a really bad anxiety disorder, so weed helps a lot with that.
What is CPT? Sorry, CP. I don't even know.
Complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay, the complex part was what I didn't understand.
It's just repeated childhood trauma, basically.
Right.
My childhood was not cool, and it messed me up way worse than I had thought. And it was probably about 5 years ago when I started to kind of reflect on how I operated, because how I operated wasn't normal. And I would have just really bad anxiety attacks. And then I'd go into deep, like really dark depressions. And I kind of was like, oh, it's normal. It's, everyone has some sort of, issue. This is my issue. And Andrea finally, during COVID, pushed me into talking to a therapist about it because it just kept getting worse. And I had a lot of repressed memories that kind of came to light, which I don't think was necessarily a good thing. But it forced me to address these issues that I had. And now that I'm coming out of it, like it is like I'm a lot better off understanding why I am the way I am, how I operate. It makes a lot more sense to me now. My cycles of depression are like they still happen, but I'm able to identify them. I understand when they're coming, so I can kind of prepare. I don't go as dark as I used to, because I know what's happening. So I just have to wait it out. So I'm in a better place after going through all that and getting diagnosed and talking to someone about it. So I think one of the characteristics that kind of comes out of that is this overwhelming need to prove myself constantly, because if I'm not constantly doing something and constantly have something to show for my efforts, I just feel like this epic failure. And that's just one of the big CPTSD like traits. So understanding that kind of, it's like, okay, well, maybe I still haven't gotten to the point where I can actually relax and like enjoy, like I can't sit down and play video games. If I play video games, I'm like, you're wasting your time. You should be doing something. What are you doing? So I've never been able to enjoy anything like that. It's just, I have to work constantly. But the benefit is I've been able to do these really cool jobs because of it.
Is it because, so this is interesting. I feel like I share this with you quite a bit. It's like, and we were talking about this, I think the night after, or the night of the Women in Film Festival when we screened your episode. Because I came off of that whole event, just I had like the worst, like it was like a great event. I got home and I was just like, I felt awful. It was so crazy. And then that night when I was trying to get some sleep, I was like, it was like I had an editing timeline in my head and I was just like scrubbing the timeline and I was adding clips and it was like I was half asleep, but not fully. It was crushing. And it was like carried over into the next day. And so you're just sort of having these like moments where, back to what you were saying, it's like the work, like working so much almost makes it so like, okay, if I can get something done today, if I can like feel that sense of accomplishment, it wipes out these other feelings. So therefore, if I work all the time, then I can always feel good about myself. Like, what the actual fuck is that about? You know?
No, that's exactly, that's the feeling. And it's toxic. It's horrible for you because you'll never be satisfied, basically. When you come off of the job, like with what you did, creating that documentary and having that show, like an epic success. Everyone can see it but you, because now it's over. Now what do? You run through how it could have been better. What could you have done differently? Like it's never over. You're never able to just enjoy what you've created. And it's like with all of my pieces, it's I can do something really cool, but then when I watch it back, all I can see is everything that went bad, how it could have been better, and it just becomes a failure in my eyes because it's just myself. I'm my own worst enemy because of it. And it's hard to get over. And I identify it. I know what it is, but I just can't shake it. It's still there. No matter what.
I think what's awesome. I mean, I definitely don't want you to share stuff that's outside of your comfort level, but I really appreciate you sharing stuff like this because I think a lot of people, you know, on a surface level can view your episode and be like, wow, this guy is so incredibly successful. Look at what he's doing. Everything he makes is just top notch. Why can't I do that? You know, but hearing this side of you where you're like, I still, you know, I struggle with what I make and I struggle with being good enough and being happy with what I've done and like just all of the things. It just makes, I think it just brings creating, the process of creating down to like a really human level that where other people that are creative can just are probably right now like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. The overthinking, the never feeling good enough, like all that stuff. So I appreciate you sharing, you know, what you have shared because it's just people need to hear it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ashniko, you know, even feels that way. Like just when you're at this level of like creating and making stuff and you have like a level of success, it does, you know, gnaw away, like chews on you a little bit where you're like, God, you know, can I not just have a moment where I feel incredible about what I did and then move on from there, you know?
Yeah. It's rough. It feels unfair a lot of the times. I know, I think it's rare for an artist to love their own work. I have met them and it's unsettling. And usually I don't like them after I find that out about them. And I think it could be jealousy. I don't know, but there's people out there that they create stuff and they love what they created and they're happy with it and they put it up on display in their homes. And I'm like, I want that. Like, I can't put my stuff up because I don't like looking at it. I only see how it could have been better or like, I'm just, I think a lot of artists are more that way.
Mhm.
You know, the other version of that where they love what they make. I think that's more rare. Uh,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, humans in general, every animal has a characteristic that kind of defines their species. And I think humans is our creativity. So, with our society, though, the way we've set it up with capitalism, it crushes that and it's super unnatural. So, these people that are artistic, they don't have a resource to actually, sit down and nourish that creativity because they have to work. They have to do all this other stuff to survive. So it just gets crushed. And then
Right.
there's a few of us that get lucky and they're able to actually live off of what they create. And when you have that sort of time and dedication, then you can get really good at what you do. So it's not
Right.
really necessarily that there's these people that are just really good artists that they're born that way. It's more that they said, well, no, fuck society and how they, what they've created for us. I'm going to do it my way, and they
Mhm.
just spend all their time getting good at crafting, their skills. Um, I think a lot of people don't understand that. I talk to a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I wish I could do that." It's like, well, you can. It's just
Mhm.
you have to sacrifice a lot because I mean, for when I started building puppets, I was unemployed. It was basically a necessity that I had to get good. I had to be able to sell these puppets. Um, so I had to learn to make them better. My first puppets were garbage. I mean, if I were to put them up for, no one would want them. They're garbage. Um, and I think that's true with any artist. No one just picks up, a paintbrush and they're good at painting or
Right.
sculpting or fabricating anything. It's just a matter of dedicating yourself to it. And if you have
Yeah.
a mental disorder that makes you obsess over it and it's all you can do all day long, every single day, then you're going to get really good at it. But you're also going to be insane. So,
Yeah. 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 So which do you want?
yeah,
Like, do
yeah,
you want to go do the boring thing and have that be nice and safe? And, you do the 9 to 5 and then you can,
yeah.
sit at home and play a video game after work? Or do you want like the creative lifestyle? I don't know if there's an in between.
I don't
Um,
think there
I
is.
know I haven't experienced it. So, what's crazy is that uh when we were working on we spent the latter half of 2020 doing political films. And something that I struggled with was going viral. So it's like, you release a video and you wake up the next morning and you have 1 million views. And then by the end of that day or next couple of days, you have like 6 million views. Like that, a lot of people are like, holy shit, oh my God, we did it. And I just was like, oh my God, what am I going to do next? Like the next thing I do has to top this.
Yeah.
It was like that was where my mind was at. It's like people are going to want to know what's next. And right now I don't have anything in the chamber.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
it gets scary. It feels like you need to keep that momentum going or you're gonna lose it. And
yeah,
I mean that's
yeah,
not the case, but
yeah.
that's how it feels. I know.
Mhm. And not to mention, working in the political field was incredibly toxic too, so it's just like that whole world was difficult. But what I did do was I started because I was spending so much time in front of my computer. I think we did like 27 short films from July to November.
Jeez.
Um, and it was like sometimes, 2 to 3 a week. So it was insane. And there were some days where I worked probably like between, 16 and 20 hours a day, just sleep whenever I could. But I saw the sun come up and I watched it go down and then I watched it come back up again. But I
Yeah.
started, it was funny. I would just take breaks and I would like listen to music like really loud. And cause there was some of the material that I was having to like look through and create from was just not, it was just not like what the average person should ever really see. And so um a lot of that material was difficult. And so I just listen to music loud and just be, let myself be angry or whatever. And then I started like, I had like for whatever reason at an estate sale, we picked up um, uh, some drumsticks. And so I was like air drumming or whatever at my desk. and, and the kids and Pippin wound up for that Christmas getting me a drum kit. So I was like so I started playing drums. And that was something that helped me because first of all, I'm able to get like, it's like I could be animal and be loud and whatnot. But the main thing was like, you cannot approach a drum set, first of all, quietly. And second of all, being any good. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. Like if you're not musically inclined, which I wasn't, you have to just be okay with playing bad loudly.
Yeah.
And so that was something for me. I was like, okay, this helps me out in the editing world because I can go do this and just I can be bad. Like that's my my ground zero. That's my jumping off point is like being bad and being bad loudly, so
That's awesome.
so that was the one thing, and sometimes like if I'm up before anybody else in the house, like I'll be out here at like 6 a.m., no coffee needed. I'm just going to like put on some Pixies and play along,
that's really cool.
Yeah. So that, that's kind of one of the things that I've found is just like, with what I do creatively for a living is like just the one way I can get out of it a little bit is by doing something completely different, and allowing myself to just kind of never be an expert at it. It's like, I don't intend to really ever join a band or like play in a band or ever play for anybody. I just sort of play for myself.
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
really cool.
For whatever that's like a total happy accident though, because I never intended to like wake up. I felt like a kid on like Christmas morning. They had it all set up next to the tree and everything. I know. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like I feel like a little kid and sometimes I'll play with the garage doors up and like people will be walking by. They're like, who is that old lady? Playing like jamming out.
That's so awesome. That's
so
rad. Well,
so
your family knew what they were getting into when they bought that. They still went for it and got it for you. So that's super awesome.
Yeah, and we have a nice thick door to the garage that like so they can barely hear it.
Nice.
Outside. So so there's that.
That's
so
super awesome.
yeah. Let's see. I want to talk a little bit about also so in addition to what you've been creating and kind of how you're now doing like live performances, I'm sure this has come up in either in other interviews or just like in your own thoughts, but do you ever aspire to write your own stories, create the characters and use them to tell those stories or anything along those lines? Or does that also give you like just, oh my God, like tons of anxiety? Because that's a crazy process too, in and of itself.
I have tons of notebooks with scripts written out, like just short video ideas, TV series. I've sat down with friends over the years where we've written out just fun TV ideas and scripts. And I keep it all because it is something I really like, I would love to do. But with my kind of obsessive personality, it's like with you and the drums, just being able to enjoy it. That's like for me, if I were to do the drums, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do drums. Now I'm going to do these videos. They're going to become successful. This is going to be big. Like it just snowballs. Like I can never just enjoy something. So when I write all these things out and it's like, okay, I'm going to do short videos. I'm going to hire these people to come out and help shoot everything. We're going to build these casts that are at like, it's hard for me to just do something for fun. And that's Andrea's job. She's kind of the brakes. Like I'm just pedal to the metal, full gas, trying to pump out as much as I can. And she's kind of slowing me down. So I do have these scripts written I've done over the years. I think I've even talked to you and Pippin about a couple ideas that I had of little shorts that I just thought would be super fun with these character Muppets. And like one of them, I think was like it was supposed to be this like really dark sort of intro to our website, Luna's Puppets, where it's a commercial where this nice family sits down at a computer and they're going through our website. and they see Leonard and they're like, we want this one. Let's get this one. And then they click buy or add to cart and they buy it. And then it kind of shoots to the process. And it's not me building them. It's me getting the order, putting on like this tactical like camo, this black bag. And then I sneak out to this like foresty area where there's all these Muppets just kind of frolicking and playing. And I find the one they want and I sneak up and I bag them and I tie it up and I beat them and I bring it back and then I box them up and I ship it to them. And then it goes back to the family receiving them and they open it and it's this lifeless puppet and they love it and then it's cherished and then I'm counting my money. And then like that's just the short.
Oh my God, can we please make that with you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one I've wanted to do for a long time, but it's
I love
there's
that.
a lot involved.
I was picturing it was going to be like this sort of violent, like stuffing and the, like and the eyes popping open and just being in pain, like,
yeah, you could go that way too.
I love the sort of like hunting, the capturing and all that. I love that. That is,
I thought it would be hilarious. Andrea thought it wouldn't be good for our sales, but I thought it would be funny to have on the website. Like
I think you'd attract the right customers, like the right. I don't know. See, I feel like I don't disagree with Andrea on much, but that's one thing that I think that I think that people have enough of a humor to know that that's like, and you could flash at the bottom of the screen like no puppets were actually harmed in the making of this video, like that
just
kind
in
of
case for the people that don't understand it's a joke.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah. I think that's great. I think at the very, very least, if it doesn't wind up on your website, then you have it, to keep and laugh at.
Oh, it'd just be fun to film it. Yeah.
It'd be so fun to film it. Oh my God. Pippin, make a note of that. We're gonna
I think the first time I met you and Pippin, I brought that idea up and he like went nuts and had to like run and find you to pull you in so you could hear it.
Look, this is what we're gonna do. Oh my God. We have to do that. I just, it's like all in my mind right now. It's so great. And you could have these other puppets like popping out from behind the trees and like some are getting away, and
like, oh, they got Gary, run. Yeah.
They got Gary. Oh my God, that's genius. Dude, that's like Webby worthy. That's like a good commercial, man.
Yeah.
That is genius. Holy smokes. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna put that one in the books for sure.
All right, that one's happening.
All right. So you've mentioned Andrea a ton, and I just want to talk to you about working as a husband-wife team. I have that exact same thing going on with Pippin. We work closely together, so we know what it's like to eat and sleep and breathe, in the same space 24/7 and freak out about the same things, or one of us is freaking out. For me, I'm always the one, he'll come to me with an idea and I'm always like, right before he can even finish his sentence, I'm like, that's not going to work. Like I'm always the one saying like, nope, we can't do that. Or maybe it's my idea and I'm halfway through it. And then I'm telling I'm telling him, this isn't going to work, bail me out, help me, so what you've talked a little bit about how you guys work together, but, just go into that a little bit more for other people who have the same relationship with their, with their loved ones and creating.
Yeah, it's what we have. I mean, that's what I cherish, I think, more than anything in the world is my relationship with my wife, because I don't think it is something that hardly anyone like has. And I understand how special it is. Andrea and I met each other in middle school. We had classes together, and then in high school we started dating, and so we've been together. I've been with her longer than I haven't been with her.
Wow,
so she literally is like we've become one person basically. So working together has never been a challenge. We're always kind of on the same sort of wave. The way we think, the way we operate. she understands me better than anyone. She can see when I'm freaking out. She knows how to settle me down without, being condescending or mean. Like, she does get super irritated, and I don't blame her because I'm a lot. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I'm very insecure about it sometimes. Like, why are you with me? I don't understand how you can deal with this.
Yeah.
And she always brings it back around, and I love her more than anything in the world. So being able to work with her is incredible. There's not a time where that I wish it were any different. It actually makes it hard. Like when I go, sorry, I'm getting emotional. When I go onto these, because more and more I have to fly out of town, and it's hard for me to enjoy any of it. She has to kind of pep talk me and be like, hey, while you're out, actually go out and do something, enjoy the city. And it's like, when I'm by myself, I just go dark and I just want to stay in my hotel. I just want to get the job done and be gone.
Yeah.
Because I don't like being away from the house. I don't like being away from our kids. It could be because when I growing up, I didn't have that sort of family structure. So now that I have it, it's like all that more special. It's something I never thought I would have. And it's like,
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose it ever. So being away and being on, set when she's not there is really hard. I'm really looking forward to the time when our kids are old enough that she can start going with us. Because I know it's unfair that I get more acknowledgement than she does, because she really deserves just as much as I do. But she's such a good mom, and we have 4 kids, that she's just always there for them. So when we go out to do these shows or deliver, it's me. So I get most of the credit. And I know that upsets her, but she doesn't say anything about it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to the day where our kids are old enough where she can participate in it as much as I do and get the credit that she deserves, because she does as much as I do in this. She's incredible. So
That's so cool. I mean,
yeah.
the fact that you're saying what you're saying, is like is huge in and of itself, because I think a lot of partners might not even recognize that at that level. They would be like, "Oh yeah, it's hard that we're apart, but like it is what it is," and then like that's it. But um it's like you said, you have such a strong relationship that the day will come when you both can be out there doing the thing together. And that's like, I mean, right now she's doing her mom thing, and I totally know what that's like too. Is just and Pippin and I have to switch on and off. I mean, we have a boatload of kids as well, and while most of them are adults now, we've got our 11-year-old who's actually having to come to us a lot and remind us like, hey, remember me? Like
Yeah.
I haven't grown up yet, like I'm not, I'm not like out of the house yet, so um the fact that we can include him in a lot of what we do, I think is cool. And I think the interesting segue to that is that I think we were talking about this a little bit last time we met, is like how interesting it is when you do something this creative, you think like your kids are going to do that, and then they want absolutely nothing to do with it.
Nope.
It just sort of blows my mind. We've got an almost 16-year-old right now, and it's so funny to me because she wants to be a pediatric surgeon.
Oh, wow.
And like usually it's like, you have family that's like, if there's doctors in the family and then the kid wants to be an artist, it's like, oh no no no, you'll be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that.
Right.
But it's like, now that it's flipped, and it's like there's a bunch of artists in the family, and it's like, wait, you're gonna go be a doctor? Like, no one's asking you to do that.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so it's so interesting to me how, I mean, I think honestly the kids see how hard it is too. I mean, that's kind of,
Yeah.
that's the upside, I guess, is that um they see how difficult this this side of producing a thing, whether you're an author or a filmmaker or, you know, creating massive puppets, you know, for Coachella. People see that whole entire process, you know, whether it's your kids or other people, and it's like, wow, that's an awful lot. That takes a lot out of you, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah,
So,
your kids have front row seats to all the stuff that no one else sees that goes down producing that. So they see that and they're like, I don't want any part of that. So
right.
Yeah, my kids have seen all my tantrums when, you know, things aren't going smoothly, and they're like, ooh. Like I'm Luna, our oldest, who's 15, is an incredible artist. Her illustrations and character concepts, she surpassed me a while ago. But
that must make you feel pretty awesome.
Oh, it's incredible. But the trick is you can't, like, I can't push her in that direction at all, or she loses all interest. So I have to, you know, I have to hold my enthusiasm back when she shows me stuff and be like, that's amazing. Because if I push too hard, then she's like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I don't know what it is, but I learned a long time ago, you can't push. You have to just, you nurture from a distance.
Yeah.
So my other daughter, who's 10, wants to be a baker. She's always baking, and she wants to have her own bakery where she does cupcakes and stuff. And she's had that dream for years now. She won't let go of it, and it's awesome. So my boys, I'll just be lucky if they grow to adults. They're so insane. So whatever they do, I'll be happy with.
Oh my gosh, if you could just survive, that would be
yeah. If they survive long enough to be adults, I'll be happy. So
oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, I feel that. When our 11-year-old is at this stage where everything he touches just sort of explodes somehow. Like there's always something breaking, there's always something crashing, you know. The other day he was like, I think I was even on a podcast like live, and he like came around like in back and like on his hands and knees so he wouldn't get seen on camera, and he like just unplugged a hard drive and was like, came around in front and was like, I need this. So I was just like, oh my God, like you can't just unplug a hard drive, man. Like just there's always something, you know. I think he was carrying this huge bin of Legos, three bins of Legos stacked on top. And he was at the top of the stairs and he was just like, what was it?
Don't worry, Dad, I got it.
No, don't worry, Dad, I got this. Like step. Did you crash? Like Legos everywhere. And you're like, I knew that was going to happen. I knew it.
You can see it a mile away, but no, you're wrong. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh my God. So that whole world of, I both love it and hate it. I have to say, like, if I'm being honest, like I love the little boys, but man, I'm just like, sometimes I'm just like, why, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned that you like my house and how I have cool stuff. It's all like worthless because it's been glued together like 6 times. Like nothing has any resale value.
What does this do? Like,
oh my God. Broken. It's been glued together carefully, so it looks okay. But yeah.
Oh my God, that's so hilarious. Oh man. So what am I missing? I don't know if there's something that I didn't ask or cover that you're dying to tell us, or if there's any like parting words or whatever you feel like saying in this current moment.
I don't know. It's I think people need to just enjoy what they have, I guess would be my parting words. I think people get wrapped up in what they want, what they could be, and they don't enjoy like how unique and special like what they have actually is. It's easy for other people to see, but it's hard for you to see when you're in, you know, your situation. It seems like everyone's afraid of each other right now, which is a huge bummer. That's one thing about getting out and doing these shows is I get to meet tons and tons of people. Um, a lot of them I hate, just because it's it's LA, and I deal with a lot of actors and people that it's very different than what I'm used to. So it's hard to talk to them and communicate. So what I usually have to do is, well, I usually hang out with like the grips or, people that work backstage because I have more in common with them. Or a lot of times I'll go out and have lunch with random people like in LA. Uh, like random story, just on this last tour, because I get a per diem, which I don't necessarily need. They have food on set, but I'll go out, and a lot of times I'll just give the money out because in LA there's a lot of people that need help. So with this last job, when I was walking to go get lunch because I had a lot of time off, a woman came up asking for help because she was hungry, and I said, "Well, I'm going to get food. You can come eat with me." And I let her pick the restaurant. So we went, and she kind of told me her story, and uh, she's super happy, upbeat woman because she's not wrapped up in all this bullshit that's on TV. She's just living her life, and she had absolutely nothing, but I think people get wrapped up in seeing stuff that's going on that has nothing to do with them, and it upsets them and it ruins their lives. And you need to just shut that off. I'm really bad at it too. I get wrapped up in watching like YouTube news, like MSN, ABC, and like, holy shit, how is this stuff happening? And it's like, oh, well, it doesn't actually affect me. This is ruining my life because I'm getting so upset at it every single day. And it has no consequences in my life. I should just enjoy what I do have. So being able to actually talk to all these people around you instead of being afraid of them, or only talk to people that you have interests that align with, I think is really toxic. Yeah, I don't know if I want to end this some way, it's just be open to everyone, and don't get upset at shit you see on the news that doesn't really affect your day-to-day life. It's
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are getting really worked up and upset, and they're afraid of people. And every day when I go out, there's just everyone's on edge, and they're idling at
Yeah.
like 90 miles per hour. So everything sets them off, and everyone just needs to chill out. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be my one thing.
Yeah. That's definitely a good one. I can add on to that and say that I saw this really great clip the other day. It was one of the Duplass brothers sort of giving this talk or something. And he was talking about getting, you do your first thing, and then an agent's like, oh, I'm going to get you into all these, you can direct films, you can, I'm going to get you into all the writing rooms, and the cavalry's coming, everybody's here and ready for you, but you got to do like a year's worth of these general meetings first. And then it's sort of like the year goes by and nothing really ever came out of any of those things. And all that time you could have been creating. And so he was just sort of like this whole thing with like the cavalry's the cavalry's coming, it's just a real nonsense thing. Like we live in this like time where you really can make your own thing, and like you can do it, like you are the cavalry, I think is what he was getting at, is like, so don't wait for someone to come and like love your project so much that they're just gonna take sweep you off your feet with it, because the only thing they're gonna do is if they might sweep you off your feet but just to take it from you. So there is no cavalry. So to tack on to what you were saying, it's just like, if you have something that you want to make, find a way to make it. And just, it might not be the ultimate vision that you had. Like it might not be, these top actors playing the roles that you've wanted. It might be more like a student kind of production. But the difference is that, what you have in your mind of how things are going to look, it's not going to come out that way anyway. So you might as well just create what you can within your means and experience the success of that, which ultimately might be you made something that was awesome and like you learned a ton, and you get to go make another thing.
Yeah.
So
everything's incremental. So if you're waiting for perfection, it's never going to happen. You just got to put out what you can
boom
and work off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely it for sure. And the thing is, like, I think when you're first starting out, you have it in your mind that it's going to be a certain way, but if you're open to it being kind of anyway, while knowing the general path that you can take, I guess as long as you're open to going down some different avenues and exploring different things, you never know where you might wind up, on stage at Coachella. So there you go.
I think that probably literally works with any sort of field of creativity or anything that you want. Yeah, you could implement that into anything. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Cool. All right. So with that, I just want to thank you so much for your time and your stories and everything that you've said today. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us. And just as a reminder to people, you can catch Raiden's episode, the actual process episode on YouTube. I think we're going to link that in the description to this in just a little bit. You can also catch the next process live. They happen Thursdays at 3 p.m. PST. They stream on the Pharcyde TV. Pharcyde TV is an incredible network. Actually, while I'm here, I'm going to say something about it. It's an incredible network with something to offer literally everyone, from the very necessary, at least for me lately, Sunday vibe check music that goes on all day long and into the night, to really amazing podcasts and well-curated DJ sets. The channel is going to be going 24/7 soon. So that's really exciting. And it's going to happen with the help of amazing supporters like the people watching today, as well as the Pharcyde TV family. And I'll try and name them all. And I know I'm going to miss some, but we're talking Truth Seekers, we're talking Splendid Radio, Loft Radio, Deep Soul, the very, very funny and incredibly insightful Ink Pulp podcast, Overseas Dreams, as well as product demos from Lab Life Pro and documentaries like our show Process. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Bing, I heard that. Especially if you like what you see in here today. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next week.